Wonderful. So, welcome everybody to this evening's conference with Le Cercle des Langues. We are going to be discussing from gossip to news, how to share information casually, discuss the difference between informal and formal news sharing. So, remember, this evening's conference is level B1 to B2. I will present the conference for 25 minutes. And for the last 5 minutes, we will have a question and answer. So if you have any questions or comments or things you'd like to share, please either put them into the chat or put them onto a piece of paper. So let's begin. This evening's conference will look at 4 parts. The first part will be gossip versus news, and how do we understand the difference between the two. The second part, we will look at informal sharing, so gossip in everyday life. The third part, we will look at formal sharing, so news in public contexts. And for the fourth part, moving between gossip and news. So let's begin. So gossip versus news, understanding the difference. Gossip and news both share information. Yet gossip is casual, personal, often unverified, while news is formal, structured, and evidence-based. This difference affects how seriously people treat the information. So the key difference between gossip and news is that gossip thrives on curiosity and surprise. For example, I think Sam got fired. Whereas news demands clarity and proof. So the company confirmed Sam left his position yesterday. Each style serves a different purpose. And often we will see a different kind of writing, or we will see a different kind of way to deliver the news. So gossip is often unthinking. That means it's not really polite or taken into consideration what other people could be feeling. Whereas the news, you will notice, it's more respectful and it is done in a way that is neutral. So examples of gossip and news. Gossip. Apparently, Laura met someone new. You won't believe who I saw yesterday. Whereas the news will be more formal. According to local reports, Laura attended a conference abroad. The mayor officially announced new traffic measures. So let's look at the difference when we talk about vocabulary. So as we talk about gossip, we talk about rumeur, commérage, but we talk about chit-chat as well. And then we talk about speculation. We talk about breaking news, a reliable source, an official statement, a report, evidence, and confirmation. So anything about gossip can be broken into a category, and news can be broken into a second category. Anything that has things to do with rumors or chit-chat or speculation, that could be seen as gossip. Whereas news will look for a reliable source, an official statement, a report, some form of evidence or confirmation. So a useful tip is when hearing gossip, always ask, is this fact or rumor? Practicing this helps separate casual conversation from reliable information, strengthening critical thinking and communication skills. We will also remember it's who we are speaking to and how we learn to trust our instincts with the people that we are speaking to. Certain people, even though it may seem as gossip, are simply talking about certain things, but we know that we can trust their opinion and what they are speaking about. So let's look at informal sharing. So gossip in everyday life. Informal sharing often feels spontaneous. It uses relaxed vocabulary, emotional reactions, and sometimes exaggeration. It can build social connections, but may distort the truth if repeated too often without verification. For example, guess what? Tom finally bought a new car. Apparently, Lisa might leave her job next month. I heard Sophia is moving abroad for love. So in this context, these examples, they seem completely harmless, and they probably are. Again, we need to remember, where is the information coming from? Do we trust this person or these people? And is this actually the truth? So let's look at a dialogue example. Did you hear Emma quit her job? Really? Who told you that? Mike said he saw her cleaning her desk. Wow, that's big news. Do you think it's true? Not sure, but it sounds possible. So something good happening in this conversation is that they are verifying. They're like, are you sure? I'm not sure, but it sounds possible. So this always leaves doubt for verification, which if you are talking about something that is happening, double checking, verifying, it's important. So what kind of vocabulary do we speak about when talking about gossip or when trying to have a conversation? Often Anglophones say, guess what? Guess what? When you're speaking to a friend and maybe you have an interesting piece of gossip that you would like to share. Apparently this has happened. Why do we say apparently? We say apparently because we are not 100% certain. I heard that. Or to add some emphasis, we can say, you won't believe this. Or no way. Seriously, which is more of a reaction, as is with no way. Word on the street is. So that's also a very entertaining way to say, this is what I have heard. I think, maybe, or it seems like. So let's look at a few examples. Guess what? I heard that Sarah is moving to another city. Apparently, the boss is planning a surprise meeting tomorrow. You won't believe this. Mike won the lottery last weekend. Word on the street is that the new cafe downtown is amazing. So now that we have looked at informal sharing and the vocabulary for informal sharing, let's look at formal sharing. So news in public contexts. Formal news is factual, structured, and reaches a larger audience. It avoids slang, exaggeration, or emotions. Journalists follow strict formats: headline, summary, evidence, and conclusion. So you'll often hear them say things like, according to meteorologists, heavy rain is expected tomorrow. The university officially announced new scholarships. The local police confirmed 2 new traffic rules beginning in September. So you have a confirmed source and you cite the source. You always mention the source in the explanations. This tells you that it is formal and that there is proof. It has been confirmed. So you will notice between the informal and the formal is that in informal, there's almost an unclear understanding of what's happening or lack of confirmation, whereas with formal, there's a full confirmation, there's an understanding, and there are sources to back up the information. So let's look at an example dialogue. Good evening. Authorities confirmed that vaccination programs will expand in September. The citizen, can you clarify which regions are included? Yes, all urban and rural areas will be covered. Thank you for the clear information. Officials also announced that extra clinics will be open to reduce waiting times. That's reassuring. Many people in my community have been worried about access. Another example would be breaking news. Heavy rains have disrupted travel in the north. That's correct. Several flights are delayed and highways remain closed. Authorities are urging drivers to stay alert and avoid unnecessary travel. Officials promised updates every hour. Some towns are also reporting power outages due to flooding. Emergency crews are working non-stop to restore electricity and assist residents. You are already seeing a very formal way of writing, and you are seeing that there are sources, there are things being said, and there are people being quoted. For example, the authorities. There's also, for example, some towns are also reporting. So you've got a very strong figure of proof. When dealing with official or more formal news reporting, you would find vocabulary such as according to, official statement, something is confirmed, there are reliable sources, reportedly, announcement, breaking news, public statements, authorities said, and evidence shows. An important tip is that when sharing formal information, always name your source. Instead of I think, we'll then say according to officials. This increases credibility and separates you from speculation. So now let's look at moving between gossip and news. Sometimes gossip becomes news when rumors are later verified. At first, it circulates casually. Later, it turns into formal announcements once confirmed by reliable authorities or organizations. So let's have a look at the difference. Gossip says, they say the concert is cancelled. The news said the band officially confirmed the cancellation yesterday. Gossip says, I think the teacher is leaving. But news said the school announced her retirement in June. And a dialogue example we'll see things like, I heard the cafe downtown is closing soon. Actually, the owner confirmed in a press release it will close next month. So the rumor was true after all? Yes, but now it's verified. That's sad. It was my favorite spot for coffee. True, but the report mentioned a new bakery will open there. So remember, we are looking for confirmation when we talk about a reliable news source. We're looking for verified, reliable sources, informal talk, an official announcement. We are not talking about speculation because we need confirmation. There could possibly be a press release or the truth If, however, there is a piece of information that has been spoken about, and for the big story to make sense, you'll often find a reporter saying, we have an unconfirmed report. That is so they could give context to the bigger picture without making it seem as though it is gossip. So let's talk about responsible sharing, why it matters. Responsible sharing avoids misunderstanding. Gossip can damage reputations, while formal news must ensure accuracy. Both require careful judgment before repeating information. So let's have a look at one more example. I heard Daniel was arrested. Wait, did you check a reliable source? No, someone's just said it online. Until it's confirmed, we shouldn't repeat it. Good point. Thanks. So obviously, in a perfect world, a conversation would go like this. I think it's just important to remember that we need to act sensibly, and we need to remember that the information could affect people involved. So we always need to think before we speak. So final tips would be always check the source. Use softeners, for example, apparently or I heard, and match your language to the audience. So if you are in a more formal situation, you will use a more formal way of speaking. If you are in an informal situation, you then can adapt accordingly. It's important to pause before repeating anything. Gossip entertains while news informs, and protect your credibility. Don't spread unverified information. So in conclusion, gossip and news are two sides of the same coin. One entertains and the other informs. Learning to move between them teaches us responsibility. When we pause, verify, and adapt our words, we transform simple talk into meaningful conversation. So thank you everybody for joining me for this evening's conference. I really hope it was helpful and it was a way to learn.